Before we get into today's show, we have a word from one of our sponsors that I'm really excited about. I love the saying, necessity is the mother of invention. And let me tell you, most assigning platforms out there for officials are brutal. Well, two young men recently out of college decided there had to be a better way to manage officials and get assigned. And they founded a company called Refer Sports. It simply makes referee management and assigning easy. It's native on a mobile app, so you can manage your games whether you're in the office on a desktop or on the go. It is now the world's fastest growing assigning solution, and it's 100% free for assigners. It's a no-brainer to make the switch. It makes assigners easier to work with. I've got a few assigners in my world that are brutal just because their systems are so bad and antiquated. It provides a dedicated integration specialist, so when you make a switch over to Refer, it ensures a seamless transition for you and the organization and the officials that you work with. And they support over 25 sports. So if you're assigning for soccer, you're assigning for softball, you're assigning for lacrosse, you can use one platform for everything. Simply put, man, if you want to level up your assigning game and be an easier assigner to work with for the referees and officials that are in your universe, use a tool that makes everyone's life better. Refer Sports. It's spelled R-E-F-R Sports. Check it out online or in the App Store. Hello and welcome to the Refs Need Love To podcast, a show that gives you a real, raw, and behind-the-scenes view of one of the hardest jobs on the pitch, the referee. I'm your host, David Gerson, a grassroots referee and certified mentor with over 10 years of experience and over 1,200 matches under my belt. You can find me at refsneedlove2.com and on Insta and on TikTok and now on YouTube. Today, we are going to be reviewing the new laws of the game for 2024 and 2025. And the new guidance to the Premier League officials for the same season, which is a little bit different. And then we are going to hit a few letters from the mailbag. All right, first things first, people. Let us dive into the new laws of the game for 2024 and 2025. Yeah, it's not that exciting. I just got to be honest. There's nothing crazy in it this year. There's some administrative stuff, so let's start there. A clarification that goal line technology indication can, when it's scored, it can be communicated via the earpiece or headset, as opposed to a watch. Wow. Groundbreaking. But I guess they need to explain those things in the laws. It's so funny how so much of the laws is just like, use common sense, and then they have to explain something like that. Really? Like, I think that's common sense, man. But c'est la vie. We move on. Second thing, Law 3, the players. Competitions now have the option to use additional permanent concussion substitutions. Again, common sense, but now it's been trialed in leagues around the world for the last 3 or 4 years. And finally, common sense has prevailed, and now you can actually have permanent concussion substitution. So again, if there's fear of an injury and a suspected concussion, that a team can have an additional substitution. They don't have to count against the subs that they have for the game. So just, it's good common sense laws there. Now, I will say local rules of competition can sometimes have some interesting rules around this. Like in some leagues, again, the concussion sub, okay, they're coming out for the game, they're off the game. There are some leagues where people take players off for inspection. You could sub someone on, and then if they're cleared, then they come back onto the pitch. So again, always defer to your local rules of competition, but generally around the world now, competitions now can have permanent concussion subs, which is common sense, and everyone should be doing it, and should have been doing it for the last 20 years, to be quite honest. Okay, Law 3, and the third one we're talking about today, the players. Team captains. Each team captain, or each team must have a captain on the field who wears an identifying armband, okay? They have no special status or privileges, and I'll say this is the laws of the game, not local rules of competition. But the explanation is you got to be able to easily identify who the captain is. So you got to have an armband. So that is a thing. So if a team gets on the field and there's no one with a captain's armband, okay, hey, someone needs to put an armband on. Now listen, I know some kids like hate the armband. They put it on their leg. Am I going to be a stickler about that? No, as long as it's the color is not the same color of the opposing team, I had a situation today where the captain's armband was red and the opposing team's socks were red. And for a second, I was like, wait a second, is he wearing red socks? I did ask him to just put it on his arm, but normally I wouldn't say a thing about it. But yes, you must have a captain who's identifiable on the field with an armband. Okay, this one, my favorite one here of the new laws of the game, Law 4, players' equipment. It is compulsory that a player must have shin guards and that they're made of suitable material and be of an appropriate size to provide reasonable protection. That's what the law says, and be covered by socks. But the next sentence says that the players are responsible for the size and suitability of their shin guards. Now, I want to just clarify here that this is the IFAB laws of the game. So this would be if we're doing club soccer. This does not apply to high school and college. In high school and college in the United States, the NFHS has a law that says that there's a certain size and there's a certain marking that the shin guard has to have to be appropriate for the player that's wearing them. Okay, this is not high school and college. In IFAB, club, your MLS Next, your ECNL, your DPL, your alphabet soup of leagues out there, players are responsible for the size and suitability of the shin guard. I had this today where I've got the kids lined up and I'm checking them in. I'm talking to them like, hey, everyone's going to make sure they're coming on the field properly equipped with shin guards in. And I looked down the line and it really looked like this kid was definitely not wearing shin guards. And I just say, just make sure you put your shin guards in. And he's, oh, they're in. And he like pulls down his sock like 2 inches. And these things are literally, I kid you not. I kid you not. It was like, I don't want to over exaggerate. I think it was like 3 inches by 2 inches was his shin guard. I'm talking like 2 fingers wide, like your finger length long. That's how thin these things were and how short they were. But he's responsible for his safety now. In years past, it'd be like, go get proper shin guards on. But now it is up to the players what is suitable in terms of material and size. Yeah, so that's the thing. That's the thing. Let's see. Other things in the compulsory equipment we already talked about. The team captain must wear the armband. Yes, we've got that. All good. And let's see. Next one's here. On other compulsory equipment, this one's really funny. That non-dangerous protective equipment, they're just adding these things into the laws of the game. They've added that gloves can be worn. So the way the law read was non-dangerous protective equipment, like headgear, face masks, knee and arm protectors made of soft, lightweight padded material. But they've just added in gloves under the other equipment to reflect the fact that they're widely used, certainly by goalkeepers, and tracksuit bottoms are used by goalkeepers. So they add that in as that goalkeepers wear tracksuit bottoms as well. But even players wear gloves these days. So they just wanted to add that in. That is perfectly legal equipment as optional thing. This one, I have to tell you, was the one that I didn't understand at all. They added some language to the fouls and misconduct, Law 12, disciplinary action in 3. Under Law 12.3, they've got some new information on fouls and misconduct. In the laws of the game, yes, you give a yellow card if someone handles the ball to interfere with a stopping a promising attack, and that always seemed really common sense. But they added this extra sentence, and it says, except where the referee awards a penalty kick for a non-deliberate handball. Because I guess the thinking was that if someone committed a handball offense in the penalty area, maybe on a shot towards goal, but it wasn't a dog-so situation, that you would always give a yellow card. I didn't know that was the case, but I'm assuming that's why this law was written. The explanation is that non-deliberate handball offenses are usually a result of a player attempting to play fairly. So when a penalty kick is awarded for such offenses, the same philosophy should apply for offenses, fouls, which are an attempt to play the ball or challenge for the ball. And, of course, not being reckless or a dog-so offense, that's something different. Okay, deliberate handball remains a red card offense when a penalty kick is awarded. So if someone like purposely slaps the ball out of the air going towards goal, okay, that's going to be a red card and a penalty kick. But if it's a non-deliberate handball, okay, they're fairly playing and it's just a non-deliberate handball in the penalty area and we award a penalty kick, we no longer award a caution for that. So that's, I guess, an important update there. Law 14, the penalty kick. So this is interesting. They've added the language on the penalty kick that, of course, the ball must be stationary, but with parts of the ball touching or overhanging the center of the penalty mark. Because you're only talking about a dot that is 12 yards away from the goal line. So if you put the ball at the very edge of the penalty mark and it just barely hangs over the edge of the penalty mark, then instead of at 12 yards, then you're probably talking about like 11 yards, and, I don't know however many inches there. But again, it's going to shrink down that distance to the goal line and add more of an advantage to the attacker. So now the law says that the ball must be overhanging the center of the penalty mark. Okay, that's what it is. Overhang the center of the penalty mark. And in the Euros during the penalty kicks, I saw that happening a great deal, that they wanted to make sure that it was overhanging the center of the penalty. No big deal there. All right. This is my favorite, absolutely best part of the new laws of the game. Best part. And it all has to deal with offenses and sanctions relating to penalty kicks and encroachment. Believe it or not, but in the previous laws of the game, if a player, let's say a teammate of the kicker, encroaches on the penalty kick, meaning before the ball was struck, that a teammate of the player actually came into the penalty area, okay, and a goal was scored, it would actually be an indirect free kick offense. And the ball would be coming out on that one, which is crazy talk, right? That's like insane. Wait, it had nothing to do with the goal. Why would we do that? The same thing on the other side. If a defending player came into the penalty area, encroached in the penalty area before the ball was struck, the laws of the game said that it actually should be a retake of the penalty kick if the kick was saved. Even if they had nothing to do with the play, it was considered encroachment, and that's the way the laws of the game were written. That's crazy talk, right? If it has nothing to do with the play. I actually made this mistake. Well, it was correct in the laws of the game. I had a goalkeeper. I was an assistant. I was AR1, and there was a penalty kick. Goalkeeper steps like 2 feet off the line before the ball is struck. Okay? It wasn't awful, but he was definitely clearly off the line with both of his feet in front of the line before the ball was struck. But the kick was missed. It went high. And I like an idiot, because I'm a rule follower nerd, I made eye contact with the referee, and I stood my ground. I looked at him, and he came over, and I was like, hey, he came off the line. It's like, yeah, it's a re-kick. Yeah, that's right. We awarded a re-kick because the goalkeeper encroached off of his line before the ball was struck. It's ridiculous. The guy skied the kick. Why should we give him another shot at goal? It's not like the goalkeeper saved it and he encroached. The guy skied the kick over the bar, and we still awarded him a new kick. Now the laws of the game say that if it has no impact on the goal, okay, no impact on the play, then you just let it go. So if there's encroachment by an attacking player, so a teammate of the person kicking, but they don't impact the play at all, okay, and it's a goal, great, wonderful, play on, no problem. If there's no goal, great, no problem, no retake. But if there's an encroachment by the attacking player, teammate of the attacking player, they come into the penalty area early, okay, and it's a save, okay, but the ball rebounds to that player who came into the penalty area early, then it's an indirect free kick for the defending team, essentially, for the goalkeeper coming on out. It only is going to be enforced now if there is impact on the play. And that just makes sense. That is a good law of the game change right there. Great law. Wonderful. I mean, there's no other changes to things such as, the ball being kicked backwards. It's always an indirect free kick. Illegal feinting, meaning they run up and they feint when they've placed their plant foot down. Yes, it's an indirect free kick coming out and a caution for the kicker. So none of those things change. It's just all about encroachment by the attacking team and the defending team. And again, only if it impacts the play. Okay? That's the only time that we would actually either do a penalty being retaking, or we would award maybe an indirect free kick coming out or something of that nature. That's the only time we would get involved. So I think that's great common sense rule change right there. Love that. Fantastic. So good job on IFAB's folks there for making a good update to the laws of the game there, which is outstanding. All right. So next thing we're going to go into is we're going to talk about the very, very important Premier League. Oh, who doesn't love some Premier League? I love Premier League. And they've made some positive updates to the laws of the game, or the rules of competition for them, or guidance for the referees. I don't even know what you want to call it. But essentially what they've told the PGMOL, the Professional Match Officials organization that provides officials for the Premier League, okay, they've provided some direction to them. So they feel that VAR was way too invasive in games last year. And so they've really focused on how can we reduce delays to the match, reduce the amount of involvement from VAR, and do a better job at communicating what's going on the field and communicate decisions on screens. And even they have a Twitter account where they give real-time explanations for why something was given or not given, which is really positive. I think that's fantastic. And we saw it in the first week of the year that there was a decision, and there was a handball decision in particular. We'll talk about handball in a second. But they said they're not giving a penalty. They felt the defender was too close, which is the guidance given to referees this year. But they communicated on Twitter, which is fantastic. And similar to what we're going to be seeing and what we saw at the Euros, where referees explain decisions by VAR on the pitch, we're going to see that this year as well, which I think is fantastic. That is wonderful. The other thing I think it's going to be interesting is that video assistant referees have been told not to get involved in subjective plays, not to get involved in subjective plays. They're really trying to let the referee's call stand on the pitch, which again, I think is fantastic. I think that's what we want to see. Is these referees are outrageously highly qualified to be doing what we do, and we should be trusting them to do their job, which I think is wonderful. So I love that. That's fantastic, and I hope that continues throughout the year. That would be great if that happens. The new term is going to be heard. It's called the referee's call. So it will be used to make it clear that the on-pitch decision is critical in the process, but it should stand unless there's a clear and obvious error. So I love that. I love that. I think we want to see the referee only getting sent to the monitor when there's something that's absolutely clear and obvious. The other thing that's going to be really interesting is that if a referee gets sent to the pitch side monitor, the replays they are going to be shown, it's going to be played at normal speed, at match speed. And only when point of contact is being established will the frames be slowed down. I love that. Love that, man. Oh my gosh, I think that's fantastic. That the only time they're going to use that is just to see, okay, where did the studs connect? But as it relates to force in the challenge, they're going to leave that at match speed. I think that is so intelligent. I love that change. Semi-automated offsides is going to be introduced this year, just like we saw at the Euros, where you get that cool graphic and the decisions are made a lot quicker on offside. You get those kind of somewhat subjective lines being drawn. It's going to be great. And it's going to come at some point this fall. It could be September. It could be October. But they have to make sure that they've got all of the technology set up in every single one of the Premier League stadiums. It has to be equal everywhere so that no game has it and doesn't have it. So it's going to take some while to get that done. The revised handball rule. So there was a feeling that last year, players felt that there were too many penalties given for handball last season. So changes have been made to determine what constitutes a handball in the Premier League. And again, every league and every competition has that flexibility to give guidance to their referees as to what they want to see called and what they don't want to see called within the interpretation of the laws of the game. And so they really wanted to make sure that everyone understood that not every touch of the hand or arm of the ball is an offense. Man, I would love that blasted on a loudspeaker before every match that I referee. That would be fantastic. This is the other thing they said. So not every touch of the hand or arm is a handball offense. They also said that they are not expected to move with their arms in an unnatural position behind their backs to try and avoid such contact. Oh, you actually want them to act like they have arms and that we use them for balance and when running and jumping? It's great. So the guidance is it will not be a handball if the player concerned is deemed to be in a justifiable position or making a justifiable action. If there is a clear change in the trajectory when the ball is touched or deflects off by the same player, or if the ball hits the supporting arm when a player falls to the ground. That's right. So if the ball changes direction, that doesn't mean that it's a handball offense. That is such a myth. I hear that all the time in a lot of my videos. People are like, the ball changed direction. What's your point, man? It's not in the laws of the game. So again, justifiable position, justifiable action, all good. If there's a change of trajectory or if it deflects off that same player, comes off their chest and hits their arm, all good, not a handball offense, and hits the supporting arm when they're using it, when they're supporting and they're falling to the ground. All good on that one. I think that's fantastic. And again, we already saw earlier this year about the, again, proximity of the handball offense too. So if a kick is made really close to a defender, that it's not going to be given as a handball offense. If it's in a yard or two, not going to be given. It's like literally the ball's kicked up right from beneath them, hits their arm. It's not going to be given. I love that. Again, please let common sense prevail. Thank you, IFAB. Thank you to the Premier League, PGMOL, working with the players and the team ownership to come up with some good common sense rules and changes there, which I think is fantastic. All right, guys. Now we're going to move into the mailbag. Okay. This is like my favorite part of every show because it's like hearing from you out there in the field, the coaches, sometimes players write to me, but the referees, we have a shared experience. And this one is one that it really hits me at my core. So I think I'm actually keeping this one anonymous. So I'm not going to say who's it from and where it was sent in from, just because it deals with referees to referees. But I think it's very important. So again, it begins. Thanks for all you do. Love that. I love your content and appreciate the work you do to ensure referees are respected. As referees, how often do we hear a coach, parent, or player make a complaint or series of complaints bordering on dissent or well past that line, only to follow it up with the justification that they are a ref too? Okay, I'm just going to stop right there. I'm going to continue the letter in a second. I think everyone who's refed at least 3 or 4 years has had that situation where they're like an AR or a center or whatever, and someone like disagrees with a call or whatnot, and then they follow it up with, I am a ref too. And I have to tell you, I want to scream bullshit like at the top of my lungs when someone says that. If you were actually a referee of any quality whatsoever, there's no way that you would be verbally dissenting at a youth soccer match and then even using that line, I'm a ref too. Are you kidding me? That is ridiculous. Ridiculous. I have no respect for you at that point. I'd rather it just be a concerned parent thinking that they know the laws of the game, but then you're a ref and then you have that behavior at the field. Shameful. All right, I'm going to pick it up. Here it goes. It says, that makes it better after they say they're a ref too. While sometimes they are lying, more often than not, it seems they do have refereeing experience. Yeah, seriously. It's crazy. So do better, referees. Would you want to be treated that way if you were reffing? Do you think you're helping the situation? Do you think you're softening the blow? If you have constructive feedback, give it quietly and professionally after the game. I'm going to stop right there. I'll pick it up in a moment here. But again, I sometimes have parents after a match respectfully come up and say, hey, can you help me understand such and such decision over there? Or why did you feel that was a yellow card as opposed to a red card? Or why did you award a red card as opposed to a yellow card? And let me tell you, I am so willing to provide my feedback on that one and explain the call. As long as it's coming in a good place and people generally want to understand, dude, I'm in. I'll give you that all day long. But if someone pulls that crap in front of an entire sideline of people and says, I'm a ref too, and yelling it, oh my gosh, I have no respect for you at all. Please shut up now before I have you chucked from the field. Wait, okay. Picking up this letter again. It's a good one. It's a long one. All right, here we go. I have a more egregious example of this that happened at a recent tournament. I was in between games and had a bit of time, so the ref in chief suggested I go to my field early to check on the game in progress. There was a 6v7, sixth place for seventh place game. I'm going to stop there. Dude, is there anything more meaningless than a sixth place for a seventh place game? Just funny. Okay, I just want to say. But there was a 6th place versus 7th place game taking place with an insecure referee. She had quit reffing the year before because of a coach and parent abuse and was thrown into this game last minute because another ref has car trouble. This was the oldest game she has ever done, oldest age group, and I had pre-warned about the coach as well. I arrive and the coach is hollering at the referee and the AR on the far side of the field about a missed offside. Play moves on and he stops until there's a foul a few minutes later, and he starts to very loudly complain about that. In parentheses, not that it matters, but in my opinion, the ref made a fine call. End of parentheses. It says, so he's loudly complaining about that. And this other referee who's written this letter says, I approach his bench and suggest that he stops. He proceeds to explain to me that he is not only a referee, but a mentor. Oh my gosh. He's a mentor. I explained to him that he should know better, and if he acted like that in my game, he would already have a card. He calmed down a little. At half, I spoke with the ref, who was not planning to ref at all that day, so I'd borrowed shoes, shirt, and whistle, no cards. I told her she was doing fine, just be a bit more confident in the whistle to sell it because her calls were... He lent her his cards and reminded her that she could caution the coach at any time for what he was saying. She returned to the field looking much more confident. The coach started one time when I explained to him that telling isn't going to make her better either, as it will only cause her to get more frustrated and start making actual mistakes. Or yelling isn't going to make it better. And just this person just says, do better, referees. We want respect from coaches, players, and parents. Stop abusing each other. Man, that is phenomenal advice right there. If you see a referee struggling, okay, on the pitch, the last thing any of us should ever do, is criticize that referee publicly in front of other people. Will that help them do better in that game? Hell no. Will that encourage them to come back? Hell no. We have just lost another referee. That's it. They're gone. They're done. And it happens way too often. If you are a referee and a mentor, and you do see someone struggling, again, after the match, you can walk up and say, hey, how's it going? Are you okay? Okay. Give you one piece of advice, a little bit of feedback, one piece, and you can ask permission. They may not want to hear it. If they look like they don't want to hear it, don't say anything to them. They're too emotional. They're not going to hear you anyway. But sometimes people are like, sure, yeah. And I give them like one thing they could possibly do better on the next match to give them a little more confidence out there, to help them do a little bit better the next time out there. But man, I'm picking them up. I'm not putting them down. I'm picking them up. I'm not putting them down every single time. And if you are a referee and you are putting someone down, whether you're a parent that day or a coach that day or just another referee that day, shame on you. Shame on you. Do better. Okay, guys, before we get to the last letter today, it's a short one for the last letter. I just want to give a quick shout out to Ref6. That is our newest sponsor here at Refs Need Love 2. I use the Ref6 Pro app every single time on pitch. Honestly, if I left my Apple Watch at home, I would feel naked. I have called my wife sometimes to, like, if I'm like halfway to the field, I'll call her and be like, please bring my watch to the field. Please bring my watch to the field, so that I could get my Apple Watch before kickoff, or at least during halftime, because I will freak out. I don't know how to tell time with just a regular stopwatch. And that's one thing. But I love having all of the distance, heat maps, sprint intensities, heart rate, seeing my sprints and where they are and where I am in the pitch, like all that kind of stuff. I record score on my card, but I also record score and the yellow cards on my watch as well with the Ref6 Pro app. And I just love it, man. I can't wait to get back home after a match and see how I did in a particularly intense match and how much distance I covered and what kind of sprints I had. It's like my own personal scoreboard. Just want to tell you guys, you get a discount if you use the code Refs Need Love. You get 10% off your subscription. So monthly, annual, whatever. But just put in Refs Need Love and you get your Ref6 Pro app cheaper too. So congratulations and thank you. Okay, last letter of the day. This one's an interesting one. I can't even tell you how many times a week I get this question. So I'm just going to read the letter and I'm going to answer the question and then we're going to bring it to a close. All right. It says, hey, I love your videos. I'm a ref up here on Vancouver Island, which, by the way, just off of Vancouver Island is absolutely gorgeous. So beautiful. Such a beautiful place. Vancouver Island. And I have a question, which I think a lot of officials aren't 100% sure of, and something I see a lot. It's when the keeper has possession of the ball within their penalty area and go to release it back into play by drop kick. They're punting it. If they release the ball inside the area, but end up kicking it outside of the penalty area, is this a foul? I don't see it as a foul as they release the ball from their hands within the penalty area. I would love to hear your thoughts on this from Phil. Thank you for your question, Phil. Guys, I got to tell you, I'm not kidding. At least 5 times a week, someone asks me this question via instant message on Insta or TikTok. Okay, it is not a handball offense for a ball to be thrown up in the air by a goalkeeper and then for them to strike the ball with their foot outside of the penalty area. Okay? Not a handball offense. It's like they laid the ball down on the ground and they rolled it out and they started dribbling it. Not a handball offense. No problem at all. Yes, there is a little bit of like confusion because the laws of the game say that a goalkeeper is in, quote, possession of the ball when they're bouncing the ball or they're throwing the ball up in the air. Okay, so that makes sense. You can't challenge a goalkeeper when they're trying to release the ball by punting it. So I guess you could maybe say they're in control, but they're not committing a handling offense. And that extends all the way to the edge of the penalty area. So as long as they are not touching the ball with their hand, when the ball has completely left, like not touching the line of the penalty area at all, it's completely outside of the penalty area when they're touching that ball. As long as they've not been handling the ball that is completely outside of the penalty area, it is not a handling offense. So you can literally throw the ball, like as a goalkeeper, like lift it up in the air, like a yard or two outside the penalty area, throw it in the air, and then outside of the penalty area, kick the ball down the field. That is perfectly legal to do so. Great question, Phil. You're not alone in that question. I get that one all the time. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's pod. We must stay up to date on the laws of the game because we know no one else will. But seriously, the game is changing all the time. And if you're not learning something new all the time, you're falling behind. I always like to say, whether you're 20 or 80, the day you stop learning is the day you become old and irrelevant. Very important. Stay up to date on the laws of the game so you can help explain things as they change. Also, please support the Refs Need Love Too store online. Check out the new whistle I added. Oh my gosh, that thing is so loud and so crisp. I kid you not. I was demonstrating to this referee today. They had one of those like starter whistles you get when you do your certification clinic, and it was like so weak and you could barely hear it. And I just said to her, I was like, all right, I'm just going to give one little peep from my whistle. I just want you to see the difference because I really encourage you. You need a new whistle. And my gosh, it was like, bam! And literally both benches, because this was pre-match, like everyone stopped talking and looked immediately like it was dead silence. It was like crazy. It was like someone broke like glass bottles in like a shop or something like that. And everyone just turns and looks in horror. It was like that. It was so loud and so crisp, man. I love it. Pick it up. It's much. You'll see similar whistles online for literally twice as much. Trust me, it's a bargain on my site. So check it out at refsneedlove2.com. And definitely pick up some merch, man. Pick up a Refs Need Love 2 t-shirt. Pick up the performance black one you put under your jerseys if you haven't already. It's so cool. Yeah, everything gets poured back into this channel, making it possible. I appreciate support. And as always, guys, I wish you all the best on and off the pitch. And I hope your next match is red card free.